What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome back. Today we're working on my terminal emulator. His name is Termi. We're maybe a week in at this point, and we've got something that works to some extent, right? I can like run this guy and I can type ls and I get like some stuff shown. And if I try to do something fancy like, well, actually I mistyped there, so I can't backspace ever because we haven't implemented that yet. So every time I mistype, I just get angry. But if we type it correctly, right, pager equals cat get log n1, we do see like that we have like colors implemented. We have like this head is like bolded. And if I type like clear, we like reset the screen. That's kind of like the extent of what we have implemented right now. And kind of like the goal for today is to try to fix this. So if I hold the letter D, we would expect that we get one long string of Ds. What's actually happening instead is two things are happening here. One, Bash is inserting a space here, which is pretty odd. And we're kind of like the GUI is like wrapping at word boundaries that have this space injection in them, which is also wrong. And so we were kind of looking at this yesterday. Also, where the hell did my cursor go? My cursor is just like missing now. What the hell? Like, I think that after the space, the cursor is maybe going to the wrong spot. Yeah, he's kind of like, oh, he's kind of like drifting off screen forever, which is also a problem. So lots to look at there. What we were looking at yesterday was why is that like space being injected? And what we kind of found is we didn't like come to like the very, very bottom of it. But we discovered that there's this like thing called terminfo, and the terminfo is like kind of like a list of things that your terminal supports. And so then you say, I am a terminal with this variable, and Bash will like look at the name of your terminal. He'll try to like look up what you support. And so we looked at like the default, or no, I shouldn't say default. Like we were inheriting a definition. We were kind of inheriting that we were in tmux 256 color because that's where we're launching our program from. So the terminal environment variable is getting like propagated all the way down. And we looked at, let's see, it was like info comp tmux 256 color. And here are all of the things that tmux 256 color says that he supports. So some of them are pretty obviously like colors. There's like a number of colors. But then there's like all these flags. And some of these are like, this says to do a carriage return, you type \r. To one of these is like clear somewhere. To clear, you run like this escape sequence. And so what we're thinking is, well, probably what makes sense is to look at the dumb terminal emulator, start with what he says, and kind of like build up what we want to implement from there. So that's where we want to start. And so what we have to do is we actually have to install a definition of like what our terminal emulator supports. So that's step one. And it wasn't clear here. It turns out that if we change this behavior, the wrapping behavior is like completely different. And we kind of narrowed it down to some extent to, I think it was this line here. So one of these three attributes is completely changing the wrapping behavior. One of the, like without these attributes, it just like extends forever and kind of like overwrites the same line over and over again. But when these exist, he goes like, oh, this CUU I think stands for like cursor up or something, like move the cursor up one line. And he's like, oh, well, I can do that now, so I can wrap so that when people backspace, I know how to like put the cursor back to where it's supposed to go. Stuff like that. Yeah, so first thing we want to do is install this thing. Then we noticed yesterday when we were typing long lines in Bash, he would issue carriage returns to kind of like overwrite the start of the line, which we don't have implemented right now, so we have to fix that. Backspace also has to be implemented because like he might like try to delete characters and add new characters back in. I'm pretty sure that comes up. We'll have to double check that. And then there's like GUI stuff. So the wrapping of a long line in the GUI does not match our expectations in the from what we've like rendered internally, like in our internal buffers. So we should separate out our stuff line by line and pass it over to the GUI, which gets a little complex with the way we're like tracking color info and stuff. So we're gonna have to handle that. And we also have to make sure that the size of the UI is like flagged to child processing, because bash is like changing behavior. Bash is like emitting characters when it hits what it thinks the edge of the line is. And so we need to make sure that the terminal, when we resize the GUI, he is informing bash that this is my new size and this is how you should handle wrapping. So I think that's probably it. There might be other stuff, so we're just gonna kind of like bumble through and see what needs to be fixed and what doesn't. And I also don't really have like much confidence that we're gonna get to the end of that, but we'll try. We will try. So I think the first thing I want to do is like install terminfo, and I think the way this is usually done is if I like man terminfo somewhere in here. Yeah, here we go. Finding the compiled descriptions. So if the environment variable terminfo is set, it is interpreted as the path name of a directory containing the compiled description. If it is not set, he will look in home terminfo for a compiled description. Next, if the environment variable terminfo_dirs is set, Incursive will interpret the contents of that variable list as colon-separated directories for database files we searched. Then he looks at the compiled location. So basically, there's like a bunch of spots where he's going to look for definitions. And since we don't have like an installer for this right now, what I think I want to do is I kind of want to like embed our terminfo in the binary, right? Then on launch, put it in a temporary directory and just like shove it in there, and then set this terminfo variable to say, hey, here is where you can look. Then hopefully it's like kind of like self-extracting on launch, and hopefully that's like not a problem, and hopefully everything else will just work. That's kind of what I'm hoping. So let's go to this like whip branch, and I'm not really sure if any of the stuff that we added yesterday I want to keep in, so I'm just gonna like start working from there, and we'll work backwards if we start seeing problems. So I think yesterday one of the things we did was we added in this like white border that flags where we expect things to end, and here you can see it's all like totally fucked up because we were using this terminfo. But that's okay. And I think what I want to do here is I just want to go into our terminal mod and kind of set the variables that we want to set somewhere, and also set this like self-extracting thing. So I guess in our build script, we have this like termi info thing. And I think probably what I want to do is I want to take this and I want to compile it into the binary. I want to build this when we build the application. So first of all, let's put it in resources, because I think it's a resource. And then we can look at our build script. Well, first let's figure out how the fuck do we compile this. I think it was TIC. Terminfo entry description compiler. Right. And we can libraries, read terminfo, expect these. How do I define where it is written? How do I define where it is written? Firstly, you can override system default by using -o. Right, so here I say, compile this thing to somewhere. So I can say tick res terminfo, termi.ci-o termi. And if I look at termi, termi t, okay, yeah. So this is like the location where I'm gonna put this thing. And he's already setting up like the folders in their right like structure and stuff. So maybe it makes sense to take the output of this guy, stick him in a tarball, embed the tarball in our application, then extract the tarball into the temporary directory. Seems reasonable, because then we like preserve directory structure and permissions. Well, maybe we don't want to preserve permissions. I'm not really sure. I guess the tarballs don't preserve like users and shit. I think they just preserve read write and stuff. So I think it's okay. That makes sense to me. So in our build script, which I think doesn't exist yet, we will have to compile that thing. So we'll issue a command. Am I in? Yeah, I am. Okay, I don't know why my language server isn't working. So use stood command. I think it's stood process. Yeah, there we go. He's back. Command. No. CMD. Command. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. And we create a new thing that runs what is the path to program. So tick. Okay. With arg, what was it, -o, into some directory. So I guess here, maybe we use the output directory of the build as our like location to cache this thing. That makes sense to me. So we can say std and get args get. No, not args. I want std env. Am I high? How do I? Oh, var. Here we go. I want the variable outdir. Expect no outdir. And I guess we can just stick it in there. So we can say outdir, and can say let outdir is equal to this. And then we're going to take the outdir as a path, probably. So we can say std use std path, and we'll say this guy let outdir is equal to path new from outdir. Great. And we'll say let terminfo outdir is equal to outdir.join terminfo. Great. So now we output to terminfo outdir, and we compile res termi.ti. I think that's it. Do I have to like spawn? Executes the command as a child process, returning a handle to it. Okay, so unwrap and then wait. Unwrap. And then this is like an exit status, I think. So we can say let child is equal to this. Then we can say child.wait and say let status is equal to this. Okay. And I guess we need to make immutable. And then we say status equals exit status. Can I check that it's like success? Exit status, exit okay. Was termination result successful? Yeah. Success. I guess we'll say if status exit okay unwrap or something. Use of unstable library for, I see. So we say success, and we say assert that the success was true. Assert that we succeeded. Fine, I'll simplify. Fine. If you make me. Okay, so now when we build, we should get a term info definition in the output folder. I guess it's... Why is it recompiling everything? Surprising. But we need to give it a second, I guess. Give him some time to think. Spin his little gears. Okay, so what do we expect to see? We expect that in the output of our build, we see term info. Great. And we see it, and we have the compiled term info entry. Perfect. Okay, so what's the next step? We want to tar that thing up. So we can say that we have, I guess it's not just a dev dependency, it's just a dependency in general, and then we can just pull in tar. Hello? Tar. I'm pretty sure this is the one. I guess we look it up on crates, on crates.io to make sure that this is in fact the one, and it is. We say tar v 0440, great. We can go to our build and script, and we can use tar. Maybe we don't even have to do that, and we can look at what does he allow us to do? Build an archive. Create a new archive with the underlying object as the destination for all data written. Okay, so we can like maybe say let let terminfo tarball is equal to tarball file is equal to outdir terminfo tarball path. Outdir join terminfo tar. Great. Then we make a builder around that, so we open him. So let terminfo tarball file is equal to open options, new, open terminfo tarball path. We need to say you can be created, you can create stuff if you want, you can write to it if you want, and you can truncate it if you want. Great. And then I guess we create a tarball thing out of it. So we say, how do I, like, I guess I just append data. Path to view. No, append. Do I have to, like, read the files over and over again? Oh, append path. Adds a file on the local file system to the archive. This function will open the file specified by path and insert the file into the archive for the appropriate metadata set. Perfect. But I probably want to do it with name because I think I'm not going to be using the like exact path. Okay, I think that's reasonable. So here we say we want a new builder. Tar builder. New. From probably a buff writer makes sense. Just to like improve throughput a little bit. And we create this from the terminfo tarball file. Okay. And we can say let tar builder is equal to this. Tar builder. Append. Maybe you have to unwrap. No, I have to unwrap this. Aha, aha. Okay. Tar builder dot. He says he has append path with name, which isn't showing up in my indexer, which is a little odd, but maybe that'll fix itself. And we're going to append from term info outdir, and this is going to be appended as the root. I think that's it. Do I need to like finalize this? Finish. So you just say tar builder finish. Unwrap for now. Expect maybe. Failed to write tarball. Terminfo. Tarball. Nice. Noise. Try check. He doesn't like this because I don't have tar. Do I need to define it as both a dependency and a build dependency? Maybe. Maybe I do. Okay. So now he's got some complaints for me. This needs to be mutable. Value used after move. So we can put a little reference on this guy. This guy needs to be unwrapped or expect failed to add term info to tarball. Okay. And paths and archives must be relative when setting path for. Okay, can I just like can I put it as like the root? Like just paths and archives must. Okay, so we'll maybe put it as term info for now. It's fine. That works. And so do we have the tarball in there? Does that run when I run cargo check? So you look at source. No. Target, debug, build, terminfo tar, which has a terminfo folder. Okay, and if I unpack this, unpack, I get terminfo but with no stuff inside. Ugh. So can I like add a folder to this guy? Appender. Nice. Appender all. Adds a directory and all contents recursively to this archive. Aha. This is what I want. Okay. Let's try that. So it's appender all. And we will try to just put this in the root. Cargo build. Let's try it again. Paths and archives must be set relative. I don't see the problem. It is relative. Was it says in the wrong directory? No. Failed to run custom build command at build rs28. Append all. I'm doing exactly what they did. Right? Oh, is it? So, oh, I've got the source and dest backwards. That would do it. That would do it. Okay. Give him a sec. He's got to think. He's using his head a little, smacking his noggin. Okay. So now we should have, in our build output, we should have a tarball. Aunpack terminfo. Nope. Aunpack terminfo tar. And that was extracted T termi. Okay, sick. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So he preserves directory structure. Perfecto. And we probably need to say print line cargo rerun if changed, and we need to look for termi, like term info. The definition is equal to res termi, like this, and we say term info definition here, and we reuse this variable here. All right. We should be there now. We should be there. Which means that now in our application, I guess probably here is where it makes sense. We say, let term info equals, let const term info is, as a like chunk of bytes is include bytes, and then from here it's up 3 folders, I think, res like 1, 2, 3. Res, no, it's not this, it's from the outdir. So I think it's we look at compile time variables. I think it's stood env exclamation point, I think, to look at like where is the outdir at compile time. We can look this up. Stood env, yeah. Stood env compile time and inspects an environment variable at compile time. Perfect. And do I need to worry about? He's automatically resolved, so we can just say outdir, and then we need to concatenate this with the output. So we can say stood concat env outdir with a slash and term info.tar. I think that's where it lives. I think. Cargo check, cargo build. Let's see if this like. Sure, it looks like that resolved. Looks like that resolved, which means that when we start up, we can say, please put this terminal info somewhere. Well, let's put it in a temporary directory. Do we have temp file installed as a dependency? No. Temp file 310.0. So we can say, we can get a use. These things aren't really sorted very well. I guess we're doing dependencies, then stood, then us. I think it's tempter is what I'm looking for. Yeah, he's going to return a tempter. So the idea is that this term info is going to go into some directory, and we need to hold that directory until we are finished with our child, so that the term info is always there. But it gets like automatically cleaned up if our process exits, because we don't want to like litter the world with our shit, right? And so he's gonna say, he's gonna look at tar, the tar that we have embedded, and he's gonna try to load him. So he's gonna say archive from a reader. Archive new from term info. Okay, easy. And this is the tar. This is the term info tarball. And we're going to try to like extract that to some directory. So unpack into destination, which means that we need the destination, which means that we need to create the tempter. Tempter new. Probably. Nope, wrong window. Tempter. Can I just create new? Yeah. And this is going to return a result, and he is probably going to be a extract term info error, because there's going to be two types of errors here. One is that the tarball is invalid, and two is that the temporary directory is not able to be created. Term info error. And for now, we will just not worry about it. I guess we'll put them in here. So can I derive error and debug? Do I have this error? Maybe I don't yet. Maybe I don't yet. But I should add. Because, you know, there was a period of time where I was against using this error, which is like basically like a macro to help you define error types more quickly. But you go through the process of like defining your error types over and over again. You're just like, this isn't worth the overhead. Like, this macro is very close to what I would want to write if I were to do it myself, so it's fine. It's fine. And we say one error is failed to extract, and we'll call it extraction error, and surely he comes from like if I try to extract. So if I create the tarball, create the archive from the tarball, it's fine. But when I unpack him, he might fail. And so this result is a IO result. So we can say the source is std IO result. Shockingly, actually, I would expect that this would have like another error, like invalid tarball. I'm surprised that that doesn't exist. Oh, that's fine. Whatever. And then this is an error actually. Sorry, IO error. And then the other thing it's going to be able to do is failed to create tempter. And this is create tempter. And he comes from IO results again. Perfect. So this is map error to extract terminal error, create tempter. Wonderful. Wonderful. We return the tempter at the end. And then we try to extract the archive. So terminfo tarball, unpack. Unpack? Why can I unpack this? Does it need to be mutable? Unpack. Am I high? That's what it said it was, right? In archive, there's an unpack. So I guess we'll just type it. Tempter path. And this can fail as extract terminfo error extraction. Okay. So it looks like autocomplete just isn't working correctly, but the rest is. And so when we construct our terminal emulator, I guess we will just, before we do anything, extract terminfo and say let terminfo dir is equal to this. And we will spawn shell and we will set terminfo dir. We will pass him in because he needs to set his term info environment variable to term info dir as, I think we just write like this. Okay. This guy needs to write path here. And here we need to unwrap him for now. We will have to fix that later, but for now we'll live with an unwrap. And is everything else working? Cannot find type path, so we need std path. All right, are we chilling? And we also have to set term to termy, which you've already done. Perfect. Perfect. So now when we run this guy, hopefully we see we see some evidence that he's using the terminal info definition that we installed. So we can run infocomp to print it out. He's saying he's using this guy, which is wrong. Env grep termi, or env grep term, fuck, clear. Env grep term info. So this is, in fact, the right spot. And we can ls run user 1000, fuck. Run user 1001 temp z mines. No such file directory. Oh, because we didn't store it. We forgot. We have to write this guy down, or else he will disappear from us. Just say terminfo dir. Perfect. Now, hopefully when we run this, we get the right thing. So we can say env grep term info. Great. And we can look at ls run user 1001 temp vx01 zi, which exists there. And if I run info comp, we are using that extracted version, which is perfect. Perfect. Okay, and so now we can do something like, if I say git log -n1, he prints some colors. But if I go back into my termi thing and I delete the colors capability and I run this again, hopefully I will see that when I type git log, he doesn't print out colors. He does. Fuck. Info comp. I guess the colors attribute is, maybe there's like some amount of colors that are expected. We could try another one. So if I type clear, he clears, right? But if I go in here and I delete the clear command, I think what we saw before was that the clear wouldn't know what to do anymore because he like looks up what he should do from that. So it's ls clear. Yeah, now it doesn't work. Okay, so we have some evidence that this is working correctly, right? I put it back in, run, give it a sec, ls clear. Okay, we have evidence that it's doing the right thing. So I think that we can say this is done. Now we start spamming Ds and we look at, well, what is happening now? So we have a bunch of Ds that we insert, and then we increment the cursor pause. And then here, when we get to the edge of the buffer, maybe we'll try this again. Bunch of Ds, exactly, perfect. Clear. Okay, so when I start spamming Ds, D, we get to column, lots, nothing crazy here. We get to the end of the buffer, which is going to be where the white ends, okay? And now he says, at 47, he tried to issue this. So, what the fuck does it say? This says, go to the beginning of the line with a carriage return, write down this stuff, then add some spaces, then type the UTF-8 character 8 a bunch of times. And I think that's backspace. Let's look. ANSI escape codes, I think, is what I'm usually looking at here. So that's backspace. Moves the cursor left, but may backwards wrap if the cursor is at the start of the line. Ah, okay. So I don't know if that means actually delete anything. That's not really clear to me. Moves the cursor left. I guess for now we will assume that it doesn't delete anything. It just moves the cursor left. So that's two things we have to implement. First is carriage turn, then backspace. Perfect. And so what do we do here? So the way that we have this kind of set up is we have this like terminal buffer structure here who's in charge of like basically taking insertions of data at a specific cursor position and like turning that into adjusting our like buffer of data that we've got. So we've got like, you know, if we have like some stuff that's like ASDF, new line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or one, we would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and say that our like terminal width is 10. His job is to say, well, I want to insert at position like column 1, line 3, or column 1, line 2, sorry. Well, he takes this guy and he says, well, this guy would be laid out as this and then like this, right? Because like this new line says jump down, and these guys, this is like it wraps every 10 characters. And so he says like, oh, character 1, line 2 is like, column 1, line 2 is like this buffer position. And so he like figures that out and handles insertion. And then like say that like there's like a new line here. He makes sure that like when he inserts a bunch of stuff that it's like padded so that we don't overwrite the new line, stuff like that. That's his job. And so it seems like it's probably also his job to handle carriage return. Probably like, or maybe not. Maybe the carriage return just moves the cursor to a specific position. Like resets the current position to 0, like the 0th column. And then when we insert, everything should come for free because he knows that he has to overwrite stuff. That's his like default behavior. So I think that's reasonable. And previously, we were intentionally parsing out carriage returns before. But here we can say if we get a carriage return, we have some terminal output. The output from the terminal requested some sort of behavior. And so we will say carriage return. But we will not push that as a printable character. We'll just say, hey, carriage return. Okay. And then one of the many things that we can do is a carriage return. Okay, which means that we need to handle that. So in our terminal emulator, we look at the output things and we can just say, if you get a carriage return, maybe we take the current cursor position and we take its x position, we just set to 0. Easy, maybe, right? Maybe. And if we cargo run, now, can we do something like echo-e 1234 /r 56? That doesn't do shit. Why not? So his incoming data was 1234 /r 56. And oh, it's because of our like fucking /r/n. Probably. Okay, so that's a problem. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. Let's think a little bit. First, let's see if the concept of resetting the cursor position, test carriage return, makes sense in the way that our like terminal buffer is handling stuff. So, oh no, it must. Oh, hold on. I think I'm inserting it the wrong spot. Actually, hold on. Carriage return. So here we have like data that's being accumulated. We see a /r, and we say like, okay, put a /r. But that like all of the accumulated data wasn't like pushed in order yet. So I bet you if we look at the I bet that if we look at this terminal output, we can say print line segment. And I bet that we will see the wrong thing. hand wavy. So say echo dash E 1234 backslash R 56. We see carriage return, carriage return, carriage return 1 2 3 4 5 6 new line. So we actually want to see 1 2 3 4 carriage return new line back 5 6. Okay. So now we need to change this. We need to adjust this to say before we push this, we say data output if it's empty, if it's not empty, or if there's content in the data, we are going to push that thing, and we are going to push it and consume it at the same time. So we can use std_mem_take to do that. Perfect. Perfect. And so now if I run this, can I look at that same behavior? Echo 1 2 3 4 backslash R 5 6. Okay, so it does something. Clearly not right. And I believe that's because when we see new lines, we are getting backslash R followed by backslash N. And so we're kind of like replacing the first line with the new line every time. Or something, the first character with a new line every time or something. Something about this is like fucking stupid. So yeah, something about this is wrong. So let's try to handle that backslash R backslash N case. And I suspect that if we see a backslash N, maybe instead of like pushing that as data, maybe we push that as a cursor move. Maybe. Let's try that. Because the idea is that like you have like a cursor, boom, 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 boom. He's right here at the beginning of the like thing, and he comes like over to here with some data, right? So we have like, we wrote like A, B, C, D. If he has like a backslash R backslash N, that actually means like take this guy. Can I move him? Put him over here. Then put him over here. But the backslash R itself doesn't overwrite anything, and the backslash N actually in this case means when he goes down here, it actually means like insert a new line in the text at this position. But maybe like the way that our terminal buffer is already set up, where like when you try to write stuff at a given cursor position, it will automatically inject new lines for you. Like maybe that all just kind of lines up. Maybe. I guess unless the side of this guy is like perfectly at the wrap width. Then he won't. But I guess we can intentionally inject one in that case. So we'll say new line. Terminal output. One of the things he can do now is a new line. Okay. And we can link a terminal mod and say over here, we can try to handle new line, and the Y position is going to go up by 1, and we need to figure out how the handle case where edge of screen handle case where we inject new line at wrap width. By the way, have you read this? Author dropped some interesting facts. I don't think I've seen this one. Oh, I've seen this guy's blog before. This like little bear guy looks really familiar. I haven't read this one, but I'll give it a look later. This like typically there's this guy puts in good info. I'm not sure if I really like the writing style, but technically it's usually pretty good. But for another time, thanks for the link. Thanks for the link. Okay, let's at least see now if that fixes the typical case. Okay, that looks pretty good. And if I say echo dash E 1234 /R 56 5634. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So that looks like the /R is being handled correctly. other than the case where it hits the end of the line directly. I know that that's going to be a bug. And so how do we handle that? So instead of just updating this ls, makes me think that you need to handle \t better. That is supposed to be aligned, eh? I guess the \t is probably just making it directly into eGUI, and eGUI is just probably setting the tab width like to whatever the fuck it feels like. Maybe? Because yeah, you're right. Something about this isn't correct. You are right. You are right. Okay. So what do we do if we inject a new... We try to inject a new line at the wrap width. Can we just check? Let's think. So the problem here is after we inject a \r, we move the cursor. And now we don't know that we were at the end. Now we put in a new line, and we have to say, whatever line that you're currently on, stick a new line at the end. That seems reasonable. So we can say self terminal buffer append new line at the current cursor position. That seems reasonable. So we can look at the current position and we say append a new line, but at the end of the line. So maybe we say append new line at line end. There. Yeah, that seems reasonable. That way we can be sure that it's there. And so now we go into our buffer, and we have to make that function, which was I already forgot it. Append new line at line end. And he's going to take in a position. And he is going to try to find the cursor position. So I think we have a function for that. Do we not have a function for like, oh, buff to cursor pause? No, I want cursor to buff pause. Oh, maybe we don't. Maybe we just do it manually all the time, which is kind of annoying. Calc line ranges. Yeah, we do this. So we say, hey, I have a buffer. Tell me where all the lines are. Then I'm going to say, okay, find the line associated with this cursor position, my Y position. Which line in the buffer is that? Or this is not so if I have like ASDF \n 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 1 2 3 4 5, and then this gets wrapped at 10, this becomes ASDF \n 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 1 2 3 4 5. This is going to turn into 3 line ranges that are like 0 to 4. This is going to exclude the \n. Then we're going to have 5 to 10 and 10 to 15 is like the line range we're going to get here. And so we kind of want to say, what line are we on? So this is going to give me a buffer position, and I can say line range start is going to give me line range. What is this guy? I thought he was. Oh, this is pause.y, that's why. So line range is a range, and we can say, give me the start of this thing, and this is where in the buffer we are. Okay, and so we can say, where should I append a new line, given that this buffer position? And so we can find the end of the actual line, right? Not like the displayed line, but the actual like data line in the buffer. We can find that by searching from here onwards. So we can say the buffer from here, we can say that we want to find, how do we want to do this? We can say let search area, no. Buff, we take the buffer. We take the existing buffer. We turn him into an iterator, enumerate him, skip, line range start. Okay, so now we are iterating over everything from line range start onwards, and we just look for a new line. And maybe we look for the position of a new line. Okay. No, we want to find it because the position thing is going to be a little fucked up because we skipped a bunch of stuff, and I don't really know how that works. So we want to find a thing where the index and the byte is equal to the byte is equal to this, and we don't care about the index here. And then we want to say, well, we don't care about that, we just care about the index. So we say, please give me, for an index and byte, give me the index. I don't give a fuck about the byte. Okay, and I have to double dereference this, I guess. And then I have the position of a new line. And if this exists, great. But if it doesn't, not great. Does that seem reasonable? Yeah, if we don't find one, that means that there's no new lines between me and the end of the buffer, and I need to put one at the end. Maybe. I'm actually not really sure. This is one of those times where it makes sense to write a couple of unit tests to make sure that I understand what my expected behavior is, and that I'm hitting it. Okay, so we can test, new line append. And we say, like, test canvas. We're calling it a canvas in these test names, but it's really called terminal buffer, but that's okay, because it's a rename, whatever, fuck it. And so if I insert something like this, I guess I have to set the cursor pose to 0, 0 before I insert anything. Okay. And if I try to say canvas insert append new line at end of line, and I want to set this for cursor pause. Say I'm at like x1, y1. So I guess we say cursor pause dot x equals 1. Cursor pause y also equals 1. And then I try to append a new line at the end for that cursor pause. What I expect to happen is nothing, right? Because I'm like going to be at this character number 2, and I'm just going to go move down, and that new line already exists. So I'm going to say, I expect jack shit. And okay, so we assert that the buffer is equal to this. No changes. Then, well, let's cargo test that first, just to make sure. Test terminal buffer overwrite no new line no. What is this function called? Canvas new line append. Okay, he's running. And just to double check, if I delete a character from here, then I run test and it should fail, just to make sure that we get, yeah, okay, we're chilling. Okay. Now, what's kind of weird here is that in the default case, we're appending new lines all the time. I think that that's like a side effect of something that might be a bug. I'm not actually 100% sure about that, but we do just stick a new line at the end of the buffer no matter what. Except for in the case where we clear lines. So we can do something like canvas clear forwards from the cursor pause. And now I expect this to be like this. Right, we put the cursor at this like 1, 2, and then we remove everything. So I cargo test. It failed. Why? Oh, maybe it's clearing the thing under the cursor, so it's actually deleting the 2. Which, not positive if that's correct, but that's the way you're behaving, so we're just going to leave that for now. We're going to assume that the clear forwards is working the way it's expected for now. But we can come back to that. We'll make a mental note for when we see something not working correctly, and maybe that'll be the culprit. Then we append a new line at the end again, and now we expect it to say new line. And maybe what we'll do is I will actually move the cursor forward one, so that this is 1, 2, and then we'll move the cursor back to the beginning of the line, like you would if you got a carriage return, and stick a 1, 2 in there. Okay. And then I guess the other case I want to test is if something is wrapping because it's very long. That's another case that we need to think about. So maybe we then, we take our cursor position. We say we're at 0, 2 now. And so we're going to insert some data at that location. And let's just insert something that's longer than the wrap width. So maybe like, something like this. 16 characters. So now we should expect that if we were trying to do something if we were trying to append a new line at this point, we still expect it to go to the very end of the whole line. Oh, but I guess we're gonna have to do like the fucking clear forwards thing again. Fuck. So this is gonna be like, we were previously at y equals 2. So if I try to clear something at like x equals 2, y equals 3. God, this is fucking convoluted. But it's fine. We'll figure it out. We expect this guy to kind of be at the following line. And he should be at x equals 2. So 0, 1, 2. So he should be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, 1, 2, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what we expect to see here. Pretty sure. He's not like, he's saying that I should see a 3 here, I think. Oh no. I cleared 1 too many. Okay. Let's move him to the right a little more then. Okay. So we have the right state. And this is at position 4, x equals 4, y equals 3. And then what I want to do, here's the kicker here. I want to go back one line. So y equals 2. And I want to go back and append a new line here. And I want to make sure that we see the same thing, but the new line gets put at the end of the full line unwrapped. That's what I want to make sure. And that's all working. Okay. So it looks like that concept is probably fine. I think. So probably both carriage returns with new lines are working and carriage returns naturally. So now I guess we can just start typing a bunch of D's. And now probably the only problem is the backspaces. Probably. So now we could say, let's look at backspaces. And backspace, as far as we understand from that Wikipedia thing we read, doesn't actually delete characters, it just moves the cursor back. As far as we understand. So I guess one of the many things you can do now is a backspace, and that we're like in the same thing that he does with a new line, does the same thing with a backspace, which is 0x08, and he pushes back a backspace. And maybe we want to do something, maybe we should even like deduplicate this data output thing. So we could get crazy here. Maybe. We could say, I guess it's not that crazy, but we'll make a function that's like, push data if non-empty. And we say that we take in the data, which is a vec u8, and the output, which is a mute terminal output. And then we just put this shit in here, because I'm tired of typing it over and over again. I'm tired. Yep. Okay. Push. So if it's empty, if it's not empty, we push the data with std_mem_take, and he doesn't like this guy because they are already references, so I don't have to put ampersands around him, and this should be data, not... He still doesn't like it? Oh, because this is a mute of vector terminal output. My bad, my bad, my bad, my bad, my bad. And now we can look for all the places where we do this. We say push data, if not empty, data output, output. And we can just look for everywhere that we just this. We say this. I think that's it. I think that's it. Okay. So now we have to say what happens when we get a backspace. And it's just move the fucking cursor right. So we can just say if we get a backspace, please set the cursor pause in x -1. Handling wrapping if required. So if self cursor state pause dot x is greater than or equal to 1, then we do this. Else we set the position of y -1, except we have to end up at the right position relative to the text that's in the buffer, probably, right? We can probably check this somehow. We can open console, and we can say echo 1 2 3 4 \n 5 6 7 8. And then can we say like if I say how does this work? 008? Is that how this works? I need to say echo -e, I guess. How do I insert a backspace with echo? Echo insert backspace \b. Okay, so this replaces the 8 with a 9 as expected, and then I just want to see if I say backspace 1 2 3 4 times, that goes to the beginning line. Well, how do I say a 5th time? He never line wraps. Never line wraps. Is that what it said here? May backwards wrap if cursor, but doesn't have to. Is this one of those fucking things that, like, one of these many things that, like, these terminal info things say? Backspace. CUB1. If there's code to move the cursor one position to the left, that capability should be given as cub1. Similar codes to move the right should be given as cuf1, cu1, and cud1. Oh, right, up and down. A very important point here is that local cursor motions encoded in terminal are undefined at the left and top edges of the CRT terminal. Programs should never attempt to backspace around the left edge unless BW is given, and never attempt to go up locally off the top. Okay, so if we provide BW, then it would, but I assume that we see no such BW in here for backwards wrap, probably. Okay, so we don't have the backwards wrap, so we don't have to worry about it. Hell yeah, okay. So we just do this. And I guess also that term info man page did, I believe, say that we need to define cub1. So we can look at info comp x term 256 color, and we can look for cub1, and it's just this guy, which I assume is a backspace character. I assume. So we should probably do that. So how do I know what these like hat codes are? It does say hat H here. Can I? This guy's a hyperlink. What is the guy? Caret notation. All right. Whatever. We'll remember the words caret notation for later. But for now, we will just put that in our termi. I already forgot what it was. Cub1. Cub1, cub all. Alright. Sure. Whatever. I think I'm going to make these line by line so that I can, like, sort them. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. And I think we're chilling. Maybe. I guess we'll find out. So I spam these Ds. Oh, hell yeah, baby. Look at that. So now it's correctly, like, saying, hey, you've got a really long line, and there's, like, shit back there. I can't move the cursor around right now, so I can't test that. But there is something wrong here with the cursor position. Let's see. Is it when I'm typing like this? No, this is all fine. It's just after I press enter, it's going down too much. Right, the cursor's kind of jumping down twice per line here. Let's look at this again. So we can say that we implemented backspace. And now the thing that we're looking at is going to be, I know what time this is. I don't have to put question marks. We are going to look at cursor jumping too many lines down. Okay, so we're just gonna womp, 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 womp. Then I'm gonna press enter a few times here so we can see what we get. And line, we have cursor pause x2, that's right, y5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Interesting. So somehow both what we wrote here is wrong and it's like both not what we see here and not correct. But maybe we're not writing everything. Maybe we're not logging all cursor updates. So maybe what we should do is at the end of each of these, for each segment and segment, we print the segment, and then we'll also print the cursor pause. Maybe we'll print the whole cursor state at the end of everything. It doesn't, well, fine, we'll just print the position because we can't print the whole cursor state, but that's okay. Doesn't fucking matter. And let's take a look at this. Spam, 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 enter. And so we got a carriage return, we put it back to line x0, y4. New line. Okay, so we were at x21, y4 after we got all of this data in. Does that make any sense? Then, kind of like in general, it feels like our cursor position is right. x2, y5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a little bit off, but it's being rendered somewhere completely different. which is pretty fucking weird. Maybe we should look at how we're placing the cursor in our UI based off the cursor position here. First of all, let's clear and look at this at all. So here we have y0, y2, y4. Okay, so this is all correct. There's something fucked up here. So it would be nice to look at the buffer here. There might be like extra new lines stuck at the end. Might be nice to like look at the terminal buffer buff. And maybe we print this as a string. I just want to see. What is the state of our buffer after a large thing? So we say womp, 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 womp. So here, after all of this typing, our cursor buffer only ever has one line in it. He's kind of overwriting himself, which makes sense. Let's clear. Clear, he's empty. And we say, let's type something like just a little bit over. So now we have... Interesting. So we have one line that's like this, padded with a bunch of spaces, followed by a new line. Okay. Bash. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Command not found, \n, thing, \n. Okay, so there's nothing crazy here. And our cursor position, according to this, is column 2, line 3. Okay. Nothing wild there. Assuming that all of these fit in one line, which is not true. We can see that this wraps at the colon. So we have this, new line, bash, colon, blah, 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 colon. So this should be 0, line 1, line 2, new line 3. So x2, y3 is actually looking very reasonable here, according to what is in the buffer. Right. All right. So then why the fuck is it being rendered like this? Okay, here's what we're going to do. When we go into our GUI, we render a label somewhere. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the background color for everything we print red, because that'll make it clear to see if we're like printing stuff that we shouldn't. So we can do something like text format background is equal to color 32 red. All right. So now we're seeing what we've ever typed. Great. Pretty reasonable. Nothing crazy in here. So, okay, let's look at how we are rendering the cursor position. We paint the cursor at the... So we say, hey, label rec. Like, where were you rendered? Let's first see where the UI thinks the label was rendered. That's going to be another clue. So instead of making the background of this thing red, we are going to say response. I think you can do like UI painter rect filled. We're going to fill a rectangle where the label thinks that we drew. And I don't know if this is probably going to overwrite all the text, which is going to be a little bit annoying. probably, but I think we can live with it temporarily. Okay, so here we type a bunch of stuff. The cursor moves, blah, blah, blah. We enter. This is not helpful, actually. Very not helpful. Can I make this like from black alpha, from white alpha? Like color 32, does he have an alpha channel? He does. Oh, I can just fucking run it. I can just say 255 0 0. This is probably like 128. It's probably like half see-through. That'll probably let me see. Private field. Didn't it say pub? I could have sworn. Oh, it's pub crate. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So from RGBA pre-multiplied, it looks like is what I'm looking for. And we pass in these. Let's try that. Let's try that. Nice. Okay, so this is what it sees as like where we printed. This is what it sees as where we printed. And in the happy case, okay. So what am I looking at? In the happy case, he's extending a little bit past because there's an extra new line at the end of the buffer. Okay, that's fine. And in the unhappy case, I print all this shit. It doesn't seem like the like area that it thinks that it's written to is any fucking different. Okay. So let's double check what we think the cursor position is here as well. When we draw it in the GUI. Like maybe somehow it moved, which I don't think it should have, but it's always good to be sure. Always good to be sure. Blah, 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 enter. Yeah, nothing crazy. Line 4. So something about this is just like, yeah, he thinks it's line 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Slightly off. But not completely off. Oh! Hold on a second. This is because of this, like, fucking wrapping. Got it. So, what's happening here? Hold on, let's get rid of this print line. What is happening here? I'm pretty sure. Spam some shit, right? Blah, 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 blah. He says on one line, bash, colon, space, all of this stuff. But we're rendering that as bash, colon, new line. Because it's trying to be intelligent, and he's trying to wrap at this given, like he's trying to like naturally wrap for words, and we don't give a fuck about words. So let's look at maybe this label thing that takes a job. Let's look at the eGUI. Can we turn off that wrapping? I suspect no. We have like a way to wrap, right? But we can't, as far as I can tell, specify that the wrap style or whatever should be like, don't try to look at word boundaries, right? We kind of want him to wrap only on like individual characters. We don't want him to treat anything as words, but maybe he won't do that. So it'd be nice, maybe we clone the eGUI source code and just double check that that's true. Double check that that's true. You can look up eGUI GitHub. Maybe I already have it cloned. Nope. So we can just do git. Oh, wait. I do. It's right here. So we can look at the label, and we can look at wrap. And let's see what he does with wrap. So let wrap is equal to this. If wrap blah, blah, blah. He sets the text job wrap stuff on here. Okay. So what is a text job here? Then he does something with that. Text job into galley, okay. So surely there is like a I think the galley was like the rendered version of the text. Text that has been laid out, ready for painting. Okay. So we also have the text job. So is that something that's public to us? Into galley. Text job is self text into text job. We can just see, oh, self.text. What is self.text? Widget text. Aha. So here, this is gonna come from widget text. Do we say into text job is a widget text job? Okay. And he's just got layout jobs inside him. Okay. And when he says into galley, it lays out the job. Okay, sure. With fonts. So he calls layout job, layout job. So this is what he's saying. Self.lock returns a font and cache that has a layout job that calls galley cache layout with the job. Okay, galley cache. Where is this guy defined? What is, so he lays out a thing with the job and he calls super layout. So what is super? Text mod rs, and he has text layout.rs function layout, who takes in the job, job, blah, blah, blah. Okay, row from paragraphs, layout section. So someone in here is using job.wrap. Here, is he using them anywhere else in here? Rows from paragraphs, which we call here. Rows from paragraphs, wrap, max width. Whole paragraph fits on one row. Otherwise, he tries to line break. Okay, and the line breaks. Here's probably the juicy stuff. So he looks for potential row width. Somewhere in here, he must look for a space. Row break candidates. Ooh, job, wrap, break anywhere. This looks, this looks juicy. Break anywhere. If true, allow breaking between any characters. We did it. We found it. Let's go. Okay, sick. So this comes from eGUI text wrapping. Who the fuck uses this guy? Like, does like our layout job, like wrap is a text wrapping, break any, fuck. We could have got there so much faster, but we got there, we got there for sure. So we can go back into our Termi. What's the story of the brick wall maze on top of your head? Okay, so coding, maybe a little boring, right? Maybe there's like a lot of stuff where, you know, I'm just typing and talking and going, I don't know, I don't know. And if I play that game of saying, I don't know, I don't know, too many times in a row, you might be like, I'm bored, right? And in that case, you can look at this wonderful maze up here and maybe, you know, distract yourself a little bit so you're not so bored that you leave. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like it gives like an extra thing to look at, and that's helpful in some cases. Like I find that when I watch my stream back, sometimes I do find myself like staring at it sometimes because it's like just a thing to look at. I don't know. That's the story. Nothing crazy. Story of life in a nutshell. Okay, so somewhere, I can just set that break anywhere. Text format, job. So I create a layout job, and then probably in this, is it this guy that has layout job has a wrap, right? So the job here, job.wrap, break anywhere, true. That should help us out a little bit. That should help us out. So now I print this long ass line, hit enter. It's wrapped correctly now. But the cursor is still kind of in a weird spot. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, like, this on the screen is lining up where I think it should be. But it's not painting in the right spot. So here, what are we doing? Character to cursor offset. So we get a painter. We look at the bottom left of the drawn area. Maybe we put this in the background for a second. So that we can see it while we're looking at code. And so here we say, like, here's a bunch of shit. And so here, we are looking at the bottom left corner of this rectangle, which is right here. Then we say, what is my cursor offset based off of the buffer content and the cursor size and the character size? This is fucking stupid. That's why. We shouldn't be looking at the content of the buffer at all because it's handled on internally to like the state of things. So we don't actually want to look at new lines here at all. We just want to move it up. We want to assume that it's... Ooh. We're not assuming that. Fuck. We have to take the wrap width into account here. Which is kind of like duplicated code with the stuff that does like the cursor tracking as well. It would kind of be nice if we could get maybe the cursor offset from... We could maybe like get the cursor offset from the top. So we could look at the rect top left instead of the bottom left. And we could just say that the cursor pause. So let's say that y offset is the cursor pause y times character size in y, and the x offset is equal to cursor pause dot x times character size 0. And then maybe we can just do that. So left plus x offset, and then top plus y offset. And then we don't have to do this shit at all, maybe? Instead of drawing from the bottom, we draw from the top. And these guys has to be as F32. And maybe we run this now and it looks okay. We can try it. Okay, that works. And then what was our thing? We did long ass line. Enter. There we go. Cursor's in the right spot now. And even if I keep going forever and ever and ever and ever, since we don't have any scroll back, all this just lines up. Sick. Sick, sick, sick. So I think we've kind of fixed this. Kind of fixed that. Now what might be interesting now is to look at less again. Source, terminal, emulator, mod rs. And kind of see, it's definitely still not working, right? The concept of less is still fucking broken. But maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's less broken. I don't know. I can't really tell. Carry on run. Let's just see if, like, let's see what he's complaining about. Well, there's so much shit being printed here that it's hard to tell. Let's do, like, a small amount of cleanup before testing more, because I want to know. I want to know, but I don't want this to be so rough. So that's the cleanup I need there. And then we want to look for print lines and just delete any print line in here that is debug info. Delete these, delete that, delete that. I think everything else is like error handling, so you can run this again. ls, cool, we're chilling. Oh, we have this like incoming. Where is that coming from? Incoming. Hopefully that's the last one. Hopefully. Okay, yeah, quit. Cool, so now we can say less source terminal emulator mod rs. And so what happens? Do we see anything? It's interesting that there's like no unhandled code here, but it's not doing what we expect. Oh, you know what it is, I bet? I bet that it's expecting that we only have 24 lines, because I think I wrote that somewhere. And it's probably expecting that the things get pushed off the edge. Probably. It's probably assuming that like when I add new lines, the old lines get pushed out into oblivion. So we could try implementing that. Or maybe not. What do I want to do next? What do I want to do next? I think that is the logical next thing to do. But I'm also not really convinced that I can do it in the next half hour. It seems like the kind of thing that might be a pain in the ass. So it might make more sense to call it there. I think that we've made good progress today, right? Like the fact that this is working and this is working, like those are two like major improvements. Like that's really, really good. Yeah, so I think we can actually say that we fixed long line wrapping, and we'll kind of save the like extra stuff that would help for the program less. We can save that for tomorrow. So thanks for watching, guys. If you liked what you saw, I stream most days at around 1 or 2 o'clock Pacific time for 1 or 2 hours. Right now we're working on this terminal emulator, but you know we cover a variety of stuff here. We've done like some like web UI, OpenGL, operating systems, Linux stuff. This like we're going through it. Oh, AI, right? We've done a lot of different things. So tune back in if you want to see variety coding. You know, if you're watching on Twitch and you miss a stream, there's a YouTube link in the Twitch description. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to swing by and say hi, there's a Twitch link in the YouTube description. What else? What else? There's a GitHub link in the Twitch description where this code will end up in a slightly prettied up form. And a Discord link there too. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye!